Jason Tinder, I'm with Marshall Rodino, with a local Sloan rep. Also Chicago faucets, if you're running any issues with those. But I'm going to try to tailor this a little bit, because normally when I do this, we get into building pressures and stuff you guys probably don't care about.
Yeah.
Okay. So before, I guess the reason we're down here is you guys are having issues. Do you guys have any issues with the manual flush valves typically?
Mm-hmm.
So
Not
we're
really.
strictly dealing with the electronics today.
I mean, we can still go over it though, Jay, because
Okay.
some of the drain techs really don't mess with a lot of the flush, but if it's nice for them, if they have to, they can do it.
Okay. So I guess the first thing is we'll go over, I do this to guys that have been plumbing for 100 years, and if you ask them, do you know how a flush valve works? They don't. I think I'm missing the most important that is. Okay, so we'll start. There's 3 different styles you guys probably typically deal with. There's the Royal, which is the top of the line, the Regal, and then for whatever reason, there's another one called the Sloan. So it's basically if Ford made a car and called it a Ford. It's ridiculous. It's confusing. One is good, better, best. The Royal, there's no equal out there to the Royal. For starters, you have your lid, your cap, then the plastic piece. All this doesn't hold pressure. So when you guys are putting this back on, it literally goes on hand tight. Get a hand tight and then just snug it up one time. That's all you have to do. So many people put a wrench on top of this thing and crank it down, and that'll cause problems. Okay. All it does is hold this plastic cap on, and this is one of the most important parts of it. If you tighten it too much and crack it, and I'm talking hairline crack, like you have to go out in the daylight and look at it because you can't see it. It'll just cause it to continuously run because it can't build pressure. That being said, how these work is you have your static pressure right here, and then an upper chamber and a lower chamber in here. When it's just sitting static and nothing's going on, there's nothing going on down here. There's no water, there's nothing. As soon as you hit this trip lever, I don't know if you guys can see it, it hits that relief valve. So this thing moves sideways, and that causes a huge dump. So water's coming in through here and flowing down. It's all metered, excuse me, it's all metered through the relief valve. You notice there's different colors. You can't just, if you lose one or whatever, and you got a black one in your truck, and you took a green one out, you can't do that. it'll not flush the same. They're weighted differently, and they're. It's hard to see with the eyes, but one a little bit longer.
You can see it, yeah.
So it's important to, one, use the right diaphragm. So anyways, that's kicked over, water's dumping down in, and at the same time there's a little, in this particular one, the water comes up through into a hole in this bottom ring, which fell off, but I'll grab another one. It goes through a dual bypass. There's little ridges in here that break up any debris, and water starts coming into the top underneath this cap and building pressure. And once it gets to a certain pressure, it reseats the relief valve, and it's ready to go instantly for the next one. So that's the importance of this piece. The diaphragms are also important. Like I said, the color will indicate, and could I tell you which colors? No, my brain doesn't work that way. I have to go to the book. But the color of the relief valve, then there's these float rings. You'll have a thick one or a thin one, sometimes a thick one and a thin one. Those also regulate how the water gets, how much water is delivered. And those have to do with the initial dump more than anything else. This one right here, there's the Regal. You guys have seen the old rubber ones with the little brass tab? That's the Regal. And over time, you grab it and it gets sticky and you get black stuff that will never come off.
Right.
So that's the old style true rubber, and it's got that one copper orifice.
Yeah.
That is the only thing that allows water, as it's dumping, it's being pushed back up in. So if that gets clogged, you're going to get continuous runoff. And some people, you can look and see if there's light. If there's not, you can take like a wire brush and clean it out. But don't bore it out. If you make that hole bigger, it's not going to work.
Now, a question for you real quick. On the old style, the rubber ones, are they interchangeable with some of these newer parts that are universal now?
Absolutely.
You can change that plastic to that now, right?
Yep. If you come across one of the old ones, you can absolutely pop one of these in.
Okay.
If you ever run across any Zern flush valves,
Yep. Yeah. We see them out there.
I'd put a nickel, I'd put $1. And if you open it up, it's a Sloan
part
diaphragm.
Okay.
And people have admitted to me, yeah, we buy the cheaper body and then we use the quality parts. So it happens. Okay, with this one, it does have the one inlet, the orifice to let it in the bottom, but also, and you can't see it, inside this middle area, there's, I think the number's 188, 185, 183, whatever, holes that you literally can't see that also allow water to come up through it. So they say that if there's 185, 181 of them can be clogged, and this will still operate. The bodies for all three are the same. So in the event you guys ever did have to change a body out, go get the Regal. If you've still got the Royal top, you can put the Royal top on it. People just think it's Royal. No big deal. Let me get through the handle. Do you guys ever have to deal with handles or?
Yeah, sometimes we do. We're starting to see more and more of it with the commercials.
I handle every time I change out.
Do you?
Yeah.
Do you use the Royal or just whatever they give you?
It's the regular pack.
Whatever one. That's the thing with supply houses.
It comes in the box.
If you say you got to a job and you stepped on it, bent it, kicked it, broke it, and need to go get another one, supply houses aren't gonna have a clue. If you ask for a Sloan handle, they're just gonna go grab one. Not that it matters, but if it's a Royal unit, you probably want to stick with the Royal handle because it's better than the other ones. It's got a built-in grease pocket. It constantly stays greased. It's got a triple seal, and it's heavier duty. So if you don't, it's not the big deal, but it'll keep you from coming back.
Another question for you is, will it say Regal, Sloan, or Royal on them? How do you tell
Only
them?
the cover does, right?
The cover will say. So the body, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's all about the cover and the diaphragm and the handle.
Okay.
Those are the differences. If you tell them you need a Royal handle, you got to be specific, and they should get you a Royal handle.
But does it say Royal on the top of that lid, on the lids?
This one, I believe, it did at one time. They cut it off, but yeah,
Okay.
it'll say Royal right.
It'll
on
say
top.
Royal or Sloan or
Regal.
on the lid.
Yep,
So that's
right
where
on
we
top.
would find that information is on the lid, right?
Yep. The other place you can find it is this one's wore off because it's a display piece, but there's a tag underneath the body of every flush valve. You got to get your camera, your phone, and figure out the best angle to kind of get it in focus, and then we can determine the supply house should be able to as well.
Okay.
That also has a date code on it, so that's important. So when you guys go in, if there's a problem, they can file that under a warranty, so you're not out of pocket. And again, if there's any questions, you got my number. You call and we check it out.
What is the warranty on one of those? 3
years.
But like if the company, like if wherever we're going to install it, if they haven't filed their warranty paperwork, then it's void?
There's no. If
they
there
don't
is,
have to
I've
file. Okay.
never seen it.
Okay, so if we go in and it's only 3 months old, then it's completely.
Call me. But you don't even have to call me. You can go back to the distributor if there's any question there. It could come down to, if it comes down to they need the original install date and the owner's name, and it's gonna be a pain in the butt, then call me.
Okay.
And we can sometimes work a little bit more magic than the distributor.
But technically, a lot of the ones that we're typically dealing with are really old anyway.
Right.
I can tell you they're all out of 3-year range. So just make sure to get the information. The most important thing we're looking for is, again, you open that thing up. Before you open it up, you'll take a picture of the top. By then, you should be sending it to a supplier at that point. If you open the lid, you see a color in there, stick with that colored in there. If, like I said, if it's a higher end, again, it just depends on what brand it is. The ones over at Zayo are killing me. So you probably wouldn't deal with those ones, would you? 'Cause
American Standard, no, but I can tell you who does.
Okay, if you could give me that info, that would be fantastic, because he needs to meet me out there, because this thing's, we've been dealing with this for how long, Jay? When was the first time you were out there?
3 or 4 months ago.
And I think, Austin, you were one of the very first people to go out there with somebody. And now, how long ago was that?
Since Caesar's been here.
Is it new construction?
No, this is an old building in Centennial.
And are they in their new fixtures?
They're brand, no.
They're new flush valves?
I changed the entire head, because I got tired of messing with them. So I put in new solenoids, new batteries, and then finally I said, the hell with it. We replaced the whole damn thing, and still nothing. I went out there personally 2 days ago, Monday, to go out there and to go look at these things myself. The auto flush works. Oh, they're old.
Oh, they're old.
Yeah, they're old.
Yeah, they're probably at least 15
But they're the
years.
sensor. But the sensor will not work. I even took the pamphlet out there with the instructions on it, how to set the sensitivity on it for flushing. And what they're doing is they're constantly flushing. But they all have new parts in them now. We changed everything.
Is it a consistent flow? Is it like
Just-
a run on?
Run on.
Wow, yeah, that's.
And they're hardwired in. One of them you can't even get to because the wire is so far in there. When I took it apart to look at it, because I doubled up back on you, you can't even connect it. I'm afraid if I disconnect it, it's going to fall in.
That's where I was.
Yeah, I've done that.
And I tried to pull on it, and there is no play in it.
I know with ours, there's a way to hold the button down for 40 seconds and reboot the whole thing. If that's not an option, they probably need, what I would suggest, tell them to kill the power for a minute to that. Flip that breaker for 60 seconds. Flip it back on, get out of the stall, get out of the bathroom, and give it a couple minutes. Once they turn the power back on, get out of the stall, because that sensor is reading the room. The infrared's reading its environment, and once it's satisfied that this is its world now, it'll reset itself, and then you can try it. I don't know if American standards do that or not. Sloan's
I'll look at. I'll pull the instruction manual again.
Yeah, Contact Sales is the rep for American Standard.
Okay.
And I can shoot you their information.
Because at this point, somebody's going to have to meet me out there. It's just gotten ridiculous.
Well, yeah.
Now, Sloan, we don't have we keep some stock of Sloan back there, don't we?
Yeah.
So we have trip levers, we have diaphragms. I'm not sure that we have you guys installed any that have the colored cartridges on them at all? I don't know what we have in that.
No,
that
we just
aspect.
have the kit.
Yeah.
So these are no different that this relief valve, the green, that's no different than this. The color means something.
Right.
And some of these, okay, if you look at your box, this one oh no, this one just has I throw these away.
Okay.
That's just me. I have, they're flow restrictors.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
They're flow
Oh,
restrictors.
flow restrictors.
I've only run into one time, and I've worked here and I worked down in Houston for a year, and there was only one time where these were a deal breaker, and it was out of Dove Valley. They were not flushing properly. The guy at tech support's like, did they put the flow restrictor in? I'm like, probably not. And I went and got one, we put it in, tried it, solved the problem. Literally the only time it's ever happened. I found they cause more of a problem than they do fix anything. But you guys have to mess with that. I can't tell you one way or the other. Before we jump into the electronics, the stop serves three functions. It's turn the water off and on. You can toggle the volume with it, and it also acts as a back check with this piece. If you guys ever, and then you guys have smooth
I do.
jawed,
I do.
I've gotta get me a pair.
it'll save you from,
Put
a
marks
lot of
on
people
them.
don't care, but you get that one person that will lose their mind if you
Scar.
scar it. With these, you ever, good grief. When you guys go to a job that screws nice and flush there,
Right.
have you ever approached it and the screw's buried in there?
Yes.
And it's a pain in the butt. If you have the ability to turn the water off to the unit, sometimes they do, sometimes they don't.
Change it.
Just take it apart. These are backward screws, righty loosey, lefty tighty. Take it apart. Just take it apart, pull this out, and it's a pain in the butt. This one's in there good, it might be. Pull it out, put it back in, put it back together, screw it back together. Don't know why, they just get jammed in there sometimes. Screw it back together and then put it in, and you're good to go.
But if it's that tight, please don't bother to waste your time sitting there for an hour doing it. Just go replace it.
Yeah, this stuff I'm telling you guys is if you don't
Can't-
have
can't-
spare parts, you're on the job, it's worth a try to save another trip out there. All right, let's get rid of the manuals. Any more questions on these? Do you guys want to, one more thing on these. These come apart. Now the top ring goes back in a specific way, and if I had the bottom ring, I'd show you. There's one right here. They just snap into place.
Right.
That's great. So I was down in Houston during Hurricane Harvey, and I can't even tell you when you walk into a building and you see the flood water level 20 feet up on the wall in the entryway. And I was the only guy in Southeast Texas, so my phone is it literally, they had to check me into a hospital. It wouldn't stop ringing, and it just got to the point where I tell people, take this apart. Well, have you flushed your lines? Take any solenoids, any diaphragms out, bypass it, however you have to, but you gotta flush the lines because there's mud and crap in there. And then after that, they still have problems. I'd tell them to just take these apart and rinse them off real good underwater and put them back in. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. You can't, like I said, it's not the same. It's not textbook ever with these things. You guys know that. The last thing on this one, if you are having a flushing issue and you're just not figuring it out, nothing's making sense, and you have a Royal diaphragm, grab a Regal. With the same color, everything, throw the Regal in. I can't explain it. It just sometimes works. A lot of these troubleshooting calls, they want to know what happened. And a lot of times, I can't tell them. I messed with it. I swap parts, I did different things. Sometimes I will change the color. If nothing else is working, I will change the color. That has worked. So there's no rhyme or reason to why. They're just temperamental.
They're mechanical parts that fill at any time.
Yep.
Well, who's to say that some engineer in the building didn't change the color and he didn't tell you?
That's such a great point. So when you guys go to a supply house, and you say, hey, I need a diaphragm for a closet. Hopefully they say how many gallons or which diaphragm, and you tell them, because most fixtures are stamped now with the gallons, and then you tell them I need a 1.2, a 1.6, 3.5, whatever, and then they go and get the right one. I've seen it 100 times, heard it. Oh, that's what the supply house gave me, and they're trying to put a 3.5 gallon on a 0.5 or a 1.0. It's got to match the fixture, or you're not going to get the right flush. So keep an eye on that. And I'm going to give the book I give you. It breaks down. It breaks down. If you go into the Regal flush valve, it'll explain what color, how many float rings. So if you have to throw one together in a truck real quick, that information is in there. Anything else on these that you guys can think of right now? If not, you can ask me. All right, let's get on to the electronics. So this, these work pretty much the same way. This has a flex tube inside of it that just acts like the relief valve. So when the solenoid goes off, it trips it. Same exact philosophy, same theory. There's an argument as to the correct way to put these back together. Some people say you jam this in there and then put it back on. I never have. I always drop this in and then just screw this down on there. Sometimes you stick these in too far, they get stuck, and you got to use channel locks to get them out. A lot of times you end up breaking. You guys had that happen? Not yet.
Hope I don't.
But it's literally the same philosophy, same theory behind it. The one nice thing about the sensors, we'll do this one. I'm sure you get these are the touch.
Are they the battery operated though?
Yeah, these are all battery operated. Any that aren't, it's still the same. Everything's the same except it has a little pigtail coming out for the hardwire to the module. But other than that, they're all the same. So with these, now this is the head that's just in the kit. A lot of them, probably most of them, you see just has the one silver button on top.
Right.
This one is, have you guys seen the green and the black, the two buttons?
I have.
One's for number one, one's for number two.
Yep.
And it's voodoo magic. How with these, it's easier to explain how those work. When it's tripped, it opens it a certain way, and you can see it on the flush handle too. If you go up, it goes at an angle, so it's not tripping it as far. And if you go down, it goes straight across and trips it all the way. And I had the guys up at CU called BS on it and got a 5-gallon bucket and tested it, and they're like, it is pretty close. I mean, up until that point, I just took Sloan's word for it. To get into these things, you guys know you take these tops off. And inside the module, you only have three parts in here. The solenoid, the battery, and then the module itself.
How long do these batteries typically last for?
It's so different. I mean, it just depends how much it's being used. I don't think they've I don't know that they've put it in writing how many cycles.
Flushes.
Because a lot of it depends on how much the eye has to work as well. this piece right here. No, I'm gonna start with the module. You've got the different colored modules. Some of them have the little gold-plated, looks like computer board stuff on top. You've seen those. Those are for the touch. For this style that you touch it. I need to get a bigger tool. That's what she's saying. See these right here?
Right.
And if you touch it, it should fire off if the batteries were good. These with the gold stuff up here go with the touch. Now, will they work? Sometimes. In a pinch, the sensor will work. The push button may or may not. How the push buttons work is inside here, there is a magnet underneath this plastic piece. That magnet hits the top of this solenoid, and that's how it reacts. But like I said, in a pinch you can do that. That one is working. Oh, the date code on top. These all have date codes on them. If there's not a date code, that means it's an original install. Like this one has an AXF974 number. There's not a lot of information on it. Same with that one. I don't think I have one that isn't. So at that point, whatever this sticker says underneath is going to be the date code. Otherwise, they will have date codes and part numbers. It'll say, it'll give the part number indicating it's for a G2, a Solus, an Ecos, or whatever. And then the date code. Again, look at those and take advantage of that warranty because these are $300-400 a pop.
And what's the warranty on those?
3 years.
3 years too?
Yeah. I think the only thing that's not 3 years is the finish. But anytime I've dealt with that, it comes down to they're using chemicals. Like Denver Public Schools insists on using that machine that goes in and they just hose the whole
Everything
thing
back in
down.
there, yeah.
That rusty screws out. And I've told Sloan a million times, why can't we go to a stainless steel screw? They don't listen to us. Denver Public Schools, I think, is the only one that I had to deal with. But they were so adamant about using this machine, they went to a different manufacturer on their flush valves so they could keep using the machine. I mean, I even took them at one point in time. Remember Central City when you had the little buckets for your coins?
Yep.
I don't know if you guys,
Yeah.
some of you know. I don't know why I had like 100 of them.
So you gave him some buckets.
I took them all down. I go, put them over. When your cleaning crew goes in, put them over, spray down. Obviously that didn't work because they went to a different unit. In here, one of the quickest fixes for these, if it's not, when you put the batteries in, you should see it start flashing. If you approach a unit and the sensor's not working, take the back off. There's no batteries in this one. Just take the back off. It's just like when the IT person tells you, oh, restart your computer, and you hate that. It's essentially the same thing. Take it apart, check the batteries, replace the batteries, put it back together.
A couple of double A's or?
Yeah, there's 4 double A's. And put it back together and give it a minute, set it down, set it up, whatever. Give it a minute and see if it starts blinking. If it doesn't, then that's it. It's just not gonna work.
How rare are these to fail? The entire thing to fail?
This,
I mean, because you said they're $300 to change out?
oh yeah, we've had some issues, but the issues we've had, I've been able to get worked out with Sloan to where they admit it's on them and they replace it. I've not had any issues with people handling it. It's low. I couldn't give you a number. I mean,
Okay, good.
I
I just want to hear it's low because, I mean,
It's-
it's one of them one-off situations, I'm going to be going like, Well, did we do this, this, and this first, like you're talking about, before we end up changing it, or calling Sloan, I'm calling, hey, you know, this is a one-off situation, can you send them a battery, you know, because the manufacturers are fantastic. Once I reach out to them, they're fantastic about sending free parts and that type of thing. That's the good thing about Kohler and Moen and Delta, and of course Sloan. I've never had a problem with Sloan. Matter of fact, in my 27 years, I don't think I've ever changed one of those out. I know I changed batteries out on them. I've adjusted them. I've called them. They said just do what you just said. Remove it, put it back in there. Leave the room after you hit the switch. Turn the power off. You know, I've had that type of thing. They've told me. You know what I mean? So they're good about it.
Yeah, but if they're ever not good about it, call me.
Okay.
Because there's a good chance I'm gonna have one of these in my car, and I'm gonna be trolling around Denver somewhere, and
I can meet you and grab it. Yes, sir.
we can do that. And I'll tell you, of any manufacturer's rep out here, and the rumor was all the way in Texas when I moved to Texas, is that Marshall Rodino's response time, we're same day, next day, unless myself and now 2 other guys are all out of town, which doesn't happen very often. We're there right now. So that's, I mean, just resetting the battery, new batteries. The other important part, pay attention. Good God, my nickname was Batteries for years when I'd walk into the office. I sent a handful of faucets back to the manufacturer defected. And they sent a picture of the batteries. 3 of them were up, 1 was down. And I walk in the office, they're like, "What's up, batteries?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And they show me the picture. I'm like, "All right, I thought you checked the batteries." No, the plumber said he replaced them. I'm sorry, I assume the plumber knew how to put batteries in. Don't ever assume anything. But that mistake also saved my butt on several occasions when I got to the job site, they couldn't get it working, I popped it out.
There was
There's 3
batteries.
batteries. Like, "Oh, dude, one of your batteries is upside down." How would you even know to look for that? I don't know, common sense. I'm not gonna tell the truth.
I've done that wrong before.
Oh my God, it was embarrassing.
I've done it.
Done business.
So, but yeah, that's or if you're ever in a super crunch and supply house doesn't have a kid, call me. Solenoid. So the solenoid this is one temperamental little guy. First of all, never, ever, ever put a tool on this thing. It's always fingers.
Hand tight. Yeah.
And as you guys, I'm sure, are well aware of, when you take the solenoid out of the back, there's always that piece that sticks in there that you gotta fish out. Right there.